and welcome to our highlight show, Day 5. I'm your host, Nazi Paikidze, and I'm here with two grandmasters, Yasser, Seirawan, and Peter Svidler.
Wow, it was another day of great fights, but
no decisive results.
Let's take a look at the standings.
So no change since there were no decisive results. We have three co-leaders, Fabiano Caruana, Maxim Vachilagrov, and Praggnanandhaa. And then four players are shared in fourth: Alireza Firouzja, Levon Aronian, Wesley So, and Praggnanandhaa Deac.
It was a very creative effort by Levon, Peter.
Absolutely. Levon, in this very normal-looking Sicilian position, instead of something like knight b3, which most people would have played in 5 seconds flat, Levon came up with a very imaginative pawn sacrifice, knight e6, d6, and the immediate e4, e5, giving it up with check in order to play knight e4, creating ideas of bishop to f4, then knight to d6. This is a very interesting position, but Alireza replied in the best possible manner, picking up the gauntlet, going knight f6, and importantly, picking up a second pawn on b2 here, using the fact that knight takes e5 runs into queen c3 check. Instead of knight takes e5, Levon correctly played rook b1, black played queen d4, and here, continuing in the same vein, white can equalize by going knight d6, knight takes c8, and then winning the pawn on b7. But that's not why Levon sacrificed the 2 pawns, and he goes for a very gambly type of a position where white is 2 pawns down, black actually stabilizes with knight d5 and castles. And objectively, Levon doesn't have full equality here, but one of the things that sacrifices like this do is they confuse your opponent a great deal. Alireza started burning quite a lot of time, and in the end, Levon managed to save this game after Alireza perhaps decided to simplify his tasks by returning some of the material. Very interesting opening, but in the end, a draw.
Thank you, Peter. Our world champion, Gukesh, he needed a bounce-back victory today against Duda.
He was in trouble, but he survived. So let's take a look how he drew his game.
Yeah, it's a curious one because it looks like we're going to give a check from c1 and then we're going to give...
Big mistake by Gukesh, g4, 2 question marks.
Yeah, allowing queen e6 is a very strange decision.
Now Duda is better.
So yeah, Gukesh making a very uncharacteristic decision there. I mean, he didn't have much time, but he had some. And
well, actually, if you pull up the current position, he made a mistake. Now it says a draw again. Now he has perpetual.
Oh my goodness.
Duda allowed it.
So just in this moment after queen c8 check, we have been focused,
king e7.
Razor focused on king e7.
Duda might try something else, but as we already know, he doesn't have a winning advantage.
Not anymore, no.
Yeah, he let that slip with that move, king f7.
The body language tells me he has given up on trying to do anything.
Does seem a bit like that, yeah.
That is it. Gukesh is calling the arbiter. He's going to make the draw claim after queen f5, and Duda is accepting claim.
Another game in which a player has every reason, I think, to be quite disappointed is this game where Abdusattorov was playing the white pieces against the wild card, Bogdan Daniel Deac. And in this position, if you play something like h2, h4, preserving the material that is on the board, planning perhaps to go for some e4, e5 advances, or attacking the black queen side with knight b5, white is quite significantly better. Instead, Nodebek played knight g5, I think probably misunderstanding how convincing this reply g7, g5 is, with the queen returning via the g6 square. And if you look at the position barely 5 moves later, it's even black who is ever so slightly better because you have some play against the white queen side. But Nodebek defended it quite well. He was never really out of control. It looked like a draw from here on out, but it's a big advantage that was missed. Let's take a look at the end of this game and the reactions.
We're about to see a handshake, I guess.
Yeah, it's not far away.
Yeah, I think they found
far away.
Repetition.
You can't really claim he was winning by force or anything like that, but Nodebek got a small edge out of the opening and then increased it by move 25, I think, or maybe 23. He had a position where he had the control over the one open file on the board. He had better pieces. Pretty much every single white piece was better than every single black piece. But then he went for a forcing continuation with knight c3, d5, which threw most of the advantage away. And Bogdan even pressed for a little bit from that moment onwards, but
Right.
as we're watching on the screen now, pieces are coming off the board in double quick time.
Waiting for the handshake here. And there it is, our first result. And two of our tournament co-leaders squared off against one another. We were hoping for a great fight, and we got it.
It was a very exciting Najdorf,
Yes.
but it did end in a draw. So let's take a look.
This is a
Either of them can claim the draw now, but yes,
Yeah.
Anvil's going to
This is
do
a
it.
very strange mistake by Duda. I'm talking about a different board, but I'm still kind of trying to
Mystified.
understand how you don't play King E7 there.
Yeah.
Rook C3 and... I mean, this player, they both tried, but there were no mistakes made in this game.
But that was a very complicated position. Those types of positions where you give up a pawn on the king side and you're trying to figure out if you're supposed to play for mate or for positional compensation because the black queen is misplaced. And then that quite tricky endgame that they were playing
Yeah.
out.
Tournament co-leaders agreeing to a draw, and then finally there was one co-leader, Fabiano.
Yeah, the All-American clash between Wesley and Fabi was a very interesting game in which Wesley came better prepared in an opening that Fabi plays quite consistently, and Fabi made the mistake coming out of the opening, which led to him needing to defend a pretty unpleasant endgame for quite a long time, but he was very much up to the task and saved a very important half a point by playing very accurately until the very end.
Peter, if you were to try to sum up this game for our viewers who are joining us late, what has happened?
Wesley played a line Fabiano, I think, did not expect, which led to Fabiano
Sveshnikov?
In the Sveshnikov, I think Wesley correctly guessed that Fabiano will stick with the idea of playing the Sveshnikov. Wesley came really well prepared, and that caused Fabiano to make a somewhat strange mistake around move 20. And he's been defending ever since, but he's been defending really well. And as we're watching the game wind down, right now I would say he is likely to successfully save half a point. It's not going to be a particularly enjoyable draw for him, but after having put himself into an unenviable position of having to defend a very unpleasant endgame, he's been doing it for the last, I think, 3 hours with great tenacity.
The problem is Wesley couldn't have made the queen because you've played King H8, so you stopped me from playing.
Yeah,
You know.
and Wesley's not playing H8 either. Like he wants to agree a draw, but in a position where he has a lot of material out.
Yeah. And let's take a look at our schedule after round 5. Tomorrow, players have a rest day. They will be back on Tuesday to play round 6, and only 4 rounds left.
Well, and playoffs is necessary. We may have to look at those playoffs.
The way this event is going, we may have playoffs. Yeah.
Indeed. Thank you, everyone, for watching the highlights. We'll see you all on Tuesday.
Thank you, and see you soon.